If we looking to sustain a happy, successful marriage,
Mhm.
we have to go back to the beginning. Remember, I want to build up to why marriages fail. So, what are we doing when it comes to that? Um,
Uh,
some of the people are on a dating market scene right now. What's going on? Like, what can we analyze? What can we look into? What can we do a deep dive so that we can have better vetting so that we don't have to get to the point where there's a separation?
And before the vetting, people need to know themselves. And I know it sounds cliche-ish or talking point, whatever y'all want to call it, but this is what I talk about all the time. Really being hot, honest, open, and transparent. And before you can do that with anybody else, you have to do that with yourself. And and I know it's easier said than done, but to explain it, doing that with yourself means your failures, you're not looking at them as setbacks. You're looking at them as setups. So a lot of people take their failures and they will get down and out about it. They won't continue to pursue whatever their passion is. They may get broken up with and be like, "Oh my God, I can't do this anymore." Time and time again, you're having the same experience per se. Well, sometimes you have to take a step back. You have to take a step back and really do a deep dive within yourself so that when you get to the vetting stage, you know exactly what your boundaries are, because again, it always starts with you before somebody else. Because we're going to get to the conversation in the end, but at the end of the day, to me, it's like, were you really being real to yourself? Or were you doing something because other people wanted you to do it? Were you doing something because you felt like you had a deadline? Were you doing something because you didn't want to disappoint family because they love them, but you don't? They can tolerate them, but you can't. But because you don't want to disappoint, because you don't want to take back the save the dates, you're going to go through with this. So I think with the vetting stage, we have to really be honest with ourselves and know what we can take, what we can't take, what our boundaries are, where we're willing to go with someone, knowing that in every season there's probably going to be a change. Are you going to be able to withstand it? Are you going to have that with that person? Because you may be able to withstand it, but maybe just not with that person.
mhm.
But you're not going to know that until you really know yourself. Because I think we rush into a lot of things. So I think the vetting stage is very important, but we have to first vet ourselves on and be real with it.
I agree with that 100%.
Right.
I
Anybody else want to add on the
I
vetting
think
stage?
I think that the greatest problem that I've noticed is that people place too much of an importance on trying to screw something too quickly. It's we out here in the vetting stage is looking for lust, not love. I've always said that when you look at the way that my generation moves, so that 25 to 35 age range, um, for women, they're trying to get the most out of men while giving up the least. Very few women today are willing to commit to good men a lot of times because they want to play the field at a young age. I mean, that's what happens. And then when you look at the way men operate, it's the same thing from a different, it's, two sides of the same coin. And that is one of the greatest issues that I'm seeing. We're not prioritizing actually getting to know somebody for their internal characteristics. We just trying to know who we can who we can sleep with the fastest. That is, I think, the greatest issue. And we're not actually understanding what marriage looks like. Marriage is about duty. It's not about, do I like this person in that moment? We live in such a microwave, instantaneous gratification society that we don't realize there are some days in marriage where you ain't gonna like this person. You're not going to be able to tolerate this individual's little quirks and quips all the damn time. And marriage is about the ability to push through that. I think, frankly, our generation has because we didn't grow up with it, we don't properly know what we're looking for because we didn't have it in our own households in the overall majority of black families. So, how can you fault somebody for not knowing what to look for when they didn't even have a standard upon which to base anything?
Well said, Austin. I agree with everything you just said. I wanted to ask you, how many years were you married?
No, I'm not married yet. My mother and father have been married for 32, going on 33
Um,
years this
I
year.
thought you were previously married. No.
No, previously considered marriage and I'm a father, but that relationship did not work. But like I was saying earlier, I said I want to be married and am looking to to fulfill that promise to myself. I said I would never produce any more children out of wedlock, and I've kept that promise so far. So I'm gonna keep up with that.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And I agree with everything you just said. I just wanted to add on because, oh, what's up, humble dad? So I wanna add on because I coach women, but occasionally men book me. So I've coached men, but way more women. But every time I've coached a man that had an issue with a woman, he's always told me that she either cheated, she's just not a good woman, something of the sorts. And I always go back to the beginning when he met her. And every single time the man says, well, she did this, but he ignored those red flags. So he knew that she had these red flags from the very beginning, and he still ignored it. So we know women do this, but I just want to say men do it as well. They look at a woman's beauty and they're just mesmerized, and she could be the worst person.
I'm a living testimony to that.
A lot of dudes are conditioned to ignore red flags in the beginning. It's like, oh, she's a little bit hard, but we can work through that. Oh, she's a little bit this, but we can work through that. There's always something to kind of throw. It's like, it's not too bad. I think I could deal with it. I could overlook that. But in reality, these are hallmarks that you should be like, okay, this is an issue. This is going to be a potential issue. And I know this is definitely an issue. And I should probably consider, severing ties with this person. But unfortunately, a lot of men do have this like don't want to quit, don't want to like give up. And it's like, well, I haven't really gotten to know the person and kind of get through that veil, right? And they think that once they do that, all these red flags that they initially saw in the very beginning, they'll just poof, disappear. But in reality, that's not, that's not what's going to happen, and I can speak to credence to that because I've also been in that same circumstance myself, because I've ignored it. And I was like, that's not too bad, or this and that. But unfortunately, it did come back to haunt me, and sort of that's a lesson learned, right, in that example. So unfortunately, a lot of men in the early phases do tend to collect a lot of red flags.
And I think you have to add this in as well to be very quick. Most men, in black, white, Asian, does not matter. Most men do not emotionally mature until ages 52 to 56. So when you examine that data and you look at that, when you look at that factual data, you then look at how black men are raised in our community. Unfortunately, en masse, we are taught that there is a connection between the amount of women you sleep with and your manhood. So we're not in our vetting stage. We are not looking to actually learn the characteristics of this woman that we're dealing with en masse to determine if she's actually a fit for us. We're looking at how quickly can I get into your drawers. Don't nobody want to admit that, but the facts prove the point.
You say 53. This is
52 to 56.
Like sometimes I get along with you, and sometimes you say stuff like that, and I just want to.
Well, I will send you the article.
I don't care if you came up with one story that you.
No, it's not one. It's not. It is not one. It's not one. There are. This has been multiply attested.
I don't care.
Right. Hey, you can go look at Dr.
52,
Jordan
Austin, for real. You want to send me that link too?
Precious. Dr. Jordan Peterson has talked about this.
Yeah, put it in the back chat.
There have been a series. I will post that in the chat. I'm not gonna say nothing that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm too young not to know what I'm too young not to have some facts.
And that was in relation to emotional intelligence,
and emotional connectedness in relationships. It was very
connectedness. Specific. I can understand.
Yes. Yes. I will send y'all that. Because when I read it, I was like, it was sent to me by a good friend of mine from Clubhouse. When I saw it, I thought it was bullshit. I was like, there's no way this is true. There's no.
So Hank, you're not there yet, right? You're not there yet. We're not there.
I guess not.